The morning of February 7, the Golden Princess anchored off in Stanley, Falkland Islands, where our first activity was a shore excursion to Sparrow Cove that offered a chance to see Gentoo penguins. Our 2.5-hour expedition began as we climbed a motorboat for a 10-minute cruise to Sparrow Cove. Once we arrived at Sparrow Cove, we disembarked and transferred to a 4-wheel drive vehicle and set out over the rocky terrain to Sparrow Cove Penguin Reserve. The 30-minute experience driving over the rolling peaty hills to the penguin colony was a lot of fun. Named for the HMS Sparrow, a British sailboat that was stationed in the island between 1839 and 1843, the reserve is part of Merrill Farm, a privately owned sheep farm that covers 10,000 acres. Set against the backdrop of sandy white beaches and the jagged peaks of Mount Lowe, Sparrow Cove is picture postcard perfect. Along the shoreline, various species of kelp contribute to a range of colors, textures, and patterns to the white sand. The Gentoo penguin colony has approximately 1,200 penguins. The first scientific description was made in 1781 by Johann Reinhold Forster on the basis of Falkland Islands. They call in a variety of ways, but the most frequently heard is a loud trumpeting, which is emitted by its head thrown back.
Esto está viendo así arriba. Está abierto. Tiene cría, ahora está dando comida. Ya.
Ya toma, le puesto.
Está al otro lado, la cría. Están dando comida ya. Estaba llamando antes a la cría, ya está comiendo.
The Gentoo penguin is easily recognized by the wide white stripe extending like a bonnet across the top of its head and its bright orange-red bill. They have pale whitish pink webbed feet and a fairly long tail, the most prominent tail of all penguins. Chicks have gray backs and white fronts. Standing 20 to 36 inches tall and reaching a maximum weight of 19 pounds, the Gentoo is the third largest sized penguin. The breeding colonies of Gentoo penguins are located on ice-free surface. Colonies can be directly dependent on the shoreline, but are also located inland. They prefer shallow coastal areas and often nest between tufts of grass. This small cabin near the penguin colony offered tea and coffee and homemade cakes and cookies. The toilets were situated outside the cabin and were protected from wildlife creatures by a specially designed gate. Observe Ove as he maneuvers his way into the portable toilets area. At the conclusion of our visit, we had to say goodbye to these charming creatures and return to the four-wheel drive vehicle, which took us directly to the motorboat for the return trip to our ship. Then it was time to have lunch on board the Golden Princess. This break allowed us to take a video clip of Port Stanley from the advantage point of our cabin balcony before taking the tender to town for a walking tour to see the sights. Stanley, formerly known as Port Stanley, is the capital of the Falkland Islands. This city was founded in 1843 and today is home to more than 2,115 people. The city is built on a north-facing slope to maximize exposure to the sun. It is one of the wettest parts of the islands. Many of the houses are painted bright colors with corrugated iron roofs. Prior to the construction of the Panama Canal, Stanley was a major repair stop for boats traveling through the Straits of Magellan. The rough waters and intense storms found at the tip of the continent forced many ships to Stanley Harbor, and the ship repair industry helped to drive the island economy. Later, support for the Antarctic sealing and whaling boats became a major industry. board the tender on our way to Stanley. View of the cemetery, where the tombstone inscriptions provide insight into the lives of the early pioneers. Monument cross for dead British soldiers in the Falkland War. Colorful houses occupy the low-rolling moorland bordering Stanley Harbour. Today, the vast majority of the town's residents are employed by the government, with tourism also being a major source of employment. On days when 2 or more large cruise ships dock in the town, tourists may outnumber the local residents. Upon disembarkation, we started our walking tour along Ross Road, where most of the iconic sites are located. The Jubilee Villas were built in 1887 for Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. These seaside terraces are in contrast to the rest of the island's architecture. Christ Church Cathedral, known as the southernmost cathedral in the world, was begun in 1892 and completed in 1903. This is a small church, well maintained, with lovely stained glass windows. The location is very photogenic inside and outside, especially with the whalebone arch in front of it. The whalebone arch is made from the jawbones of 2 blue whales. It was built in 1933 to commemorate the centenary of British rule in the islands. The town hall building serves as a post office, philatelic bureau, law court, and dance hall. The Port Stanley Post Office, with British-style red boxes, and telephone booths. The police station also contains the island's only prison, with a capacity of 13 in the cells. Rosita and a handsome policeman. St. Mary's Catholic Church is an example of a Victorian kit building, typical of many colonial structures. Was constructed in 1899. There are over 230 Catholics in the Falkland Islands, approximately 10% of the total population. St. Mary's Catholic Church is the sole Catholic church on the Falkland Islands. It was blessed in 1899. On the west wall is a pictorial history of the Catholic Church in the Falkland Islands. It was illustrated by the local artist James Peck. As we strolled along Rose Road, we made it to the Marmont Rosestone House that dates back to 1854, and it overlooks Victory Green, a World War II memorial park where a 21-gun salute is fired each year on the Queen's birthday, and the Union flag and Royal Standard are raised. The mizzenmast of the SS Great Britain stands on the green since 1973, in commemoration of the great ship's recovery. She arrived storm-damaged at Stanley in 1886 and remained there for over 80 years and was a familiar part of the landscape until it was recovered from those waters and returned to Bristol for restoration on July 19, 1970. The SS Great Britain was the longest passenger ship in the world from 1845 to 1854, and it is now a museum. Following are pictures of more charming houses along Ross Road. As we approached the Liberation Monument, we walked by the Malvina House Hotel. The original Malvina House was built in the 1880s by John James Felton. It was named after his youngest daughter, born in 1881, a photograph of whom hangs in the hallway of the hotel. Malvina is an old Scottish name, once popular in the Falklands. In the late 1960s, the old Malvina House was demolished and the new one built. The only part of the original house surviving is the conservatory at the east end. The Liberation Monument was built to commemorate all the British forces and supporting units that served in the 1982 conflict. Funds for the monument were raised entirely by Falkland Islanders. It was designed by Falklands-born architect Gerald Dixon. The bronze figure of Britannia was sculpted by Faith Winter. The monument was unveiled on Liberation Day, 14th June 1984. Because the weather was turning and the wind was really blowing, we decided not to walk all the way to see the stone monument commemorating the men of both the Royal and Imperial German navies who fought in the 1914 Battle of the Falkland Islands. But in order to complete my travelogue, I have downloaded this picture of the monument from the internet. The Falkland Islands tourist board motto is "Take nothing but photos, leave nothing but footprints." And that is exactly what we did as we headed back to the jetty where the tenders were waiting to bring passengers back to the Golden Princess before 5:30 in the afternoon, as she would sail for Ushuaia in Argentina shortly after. Once on board the Golden Princess and from the advantage point of our cabin balcony, Ove was able to capture this video clip as the ship was leaving the Falkland Islands. One of the primary objectives of visitors to the Falklands is the unusual wildlife that inhabits them. The islands are a paradise for bird watchers, as more than 120 species of birds have been counted, half of which are residents. Bird life includes several species of penguins, among them gentoo, rockhopper, king, and jackass penguins. We are happy that we got to enjoy the gentoo penguins in their native habitat during our visit to Sparrow Cove. Then it was dinner at Donatello's. And later in the evening, we got to enjoy the electrifying LV Rose.